All right, Mike, we're glad to have you on, man. We're
No,
going to talk about composting. You know, a lot of people want to know about composting. A lot of people, believe it or not, are not doing composting correctly. So you're going to walk us through that process, right?
For sure. I'm happy to be here. It's good to see you.
Good.
Yeah.
So how you want to get started?
Oh, well, so this is something that we do with demos, and this is sort of a why, why are we composting?
Okay.
And we start with why and then go to how.
Okay. Sure.
So this is sort of the journey of our food right here, if you will.
All right.
So we start with a homegrown tomato
right
there, and that's where the whole thing starts as far as composting is concerned, how it hits us.
Okay.
And then we've got, good thing this isn't smell-o-vision. This is day one, so we've got some fresh stuff in there.
Look at that.
And a little caveat on that, that would make an unbalanced product right there, because this is mostly nitrogen. There's very little carbon in that right now, and to balance that, we would be adding a whole lot of carbon to it. And good carbon sources, leaves this time of year.
Sure.
Also sawdust to make friends with a carpenter.
That would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But you want to watch out for treated lumber there.
That's right.
And also black walnut, because they will affect the growth of some plants.
Okay.
If you're growing veggies, that
Good
could
deal.
be a problem.
Good deal.
And then, compost wants a lot of the same stuff that we do to be healthy and to complete the metabolic processes. So you want to make sure it's got enough water, the moisture content needs to be good, and air, so it needs oxygen to be a good, healthy anaerobic.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, that's true.
Needs air.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure, and it will for sure decompose in the absence of oxygen. But good, healthy compost needs oxygen.
Okay.
So you want to turn it every once in a while. So this is sort of an example of what it looks like when it's first turned. And you see, like, the tender greens, like the spinach and all that stuff is gone already. It's already breaking down. But the more fibrous stuff, like, for example, there's a pineapple top in there, and the heavy leaves and stuff like that take a little bit longer to break down. You still be able to recognize those at this point.
Okay.
And then,
I'm with you so far.
yeah, next go round, things start to break down. You see it starting to look more like dirt, I guess. But you see the sticks are still in there, and beech leaves and stuff like that, oak leaves that take longer to break down. And then right over here is where you start getting into the exciting stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah, this is pretty close to being finished compost right there, and you really notice that it it has a different character. It starts to get like looser and lighter, and it smells kind of woodsy and sweet and nice, and that's sort of where it starts to get finished. So, and then we cure it up at that point, and you let it sit, and that's when it sort of really develops the nutrients that you're going to be looking for as a soil amendment.
Now, how long would you let it sit?
Well, okay, so this whole process, it depends. Composting is sort of a input in, output out kind of a situation. So the more you fool with it, the faster it's going to break down, the faster you get to a finished product. So if you follow like the University of California method, for example, and you're turning it every day or two, and maintaining a consistent moisture level and keeping that oxygenated pile going, you can get to this stage here in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Sometime. We have a much bigger facility. We're dealing with windrows, so we're every couple of weeks we're making sure that we're turning it, especially during the growing season when it's hot.
Gotcha.
We get to here generally in about maybe 2 months, 3 months. And then it sits and cures up and in the cure pile for another couple of months from there. And then you get this is a poor little volunteer that I got.
Trying to hang in there.
Yeah, I picked him out of the garden this morning against his will because he was happy where he's at. But he's sitting in some brand new sifted and finished compost.
Man, that looks good.
It looks pretty good, I got to say. And good heavy nitrogen feeder like that. The tomato would love a lot of that at home.
Wow.
But yeah, this is what we're putting back out in the world instead of letting it get to the landfill where it's going to cause problems instead of be helpful in growing stuff in our home landscape.
Some good stuff. Let's talk about the carbon-nitrogen ratio.
Okay.
Because a lot of us get that wrong.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's not a one-to-one.
It's not one-to-one, right.
One-to-one. And we were talking about that a little bit earlier. If it smells funky, you don't have enough carbon in it.
Okay.
So you want to be adding carbon. And the general rule of thumb is somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 1 carbon ratio to nitrogen. You want to be stockpiling those leaves this time of year because they're valuable. And if you're going to be composting in the summertime when there's not a leaves available, maybe unless you got a magnolia or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right?
You want to hang, if you have space for them, it's good to hang on to those so that you can add those as you're bringing your kitchen scraps and your grass clippings out to the compost pile and adding that nitrogen.
Okay, let's give the folks some examples. What is considered a carbon?
Yeah, carbon. So leaves are like the most readily available source. Everybody's got a tree in their yard or in their neighborhood that they can shag some leaves from, and don't put them on the side of the road in bags.
That's right.
Yeah, you can cut down on your waste stream. Yeah, save your leaves. Save your leaves. They're important. But also sawdust is a great source. Shredded newspaper is another one that you can get your hands on pretty easy. You want to stay away from paper that's bleached if you can help it. And you stay away from paper that's been any kind of wax coating or heavy dyes or anything like that too. But you know, those are some fairly easily accessible carbon sources for folks.
All right. What about the nitrogen sources?
Nitrogen is greens. So anything that comes out of your kitchen, for the most part, there's some carbon that you're going to be putting in your kitchen bucket. But most of your stuff that's coming out of your kitchen, your veggie and fruit scraps and stuff like that, is going to be heavy in nitrogen. Okay. Also, grass clippings, which are great, and they break down super quick too.
All right, so we talked about the good things you should put in your compost pile. What about those things we shouldn't put in?
That's a good point. It's a question of scale, but in a backyard compost situation, yeah, you absolutely want to stay away from animal products, any kind of processed or cooked foods. If it came out of a bag or a box, probably not such a good idea to be putting it in your compost pile. And anything that you've cooked, you want to stay away from too. Oils. Bones, anything like that, because that's the difference between healthy compost that's useful in your environment and a rat farm. You don't want to be growing rats.
Right, yeah, you don't want to be doing
Memphis
that.
has enough rats.
Yeah, we got enough of that.
We don't need any more of those.
I'm with you on that.
So yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. What about scale of the compost pile? Does it matter? I mean, as a homeowner, should we start with a smaller?
Yeah, that's also a great point. Okay. If you want a really hot compost, there's sort of there's a critical mass in terms of volume that you're going to be looking at, and that's usually about a cubic meter, which is a lot if you're thinking about it, and it could take a while to get that. But the thing to remember with composting is it's a fairly forgiving art, and no matter how you do it within reason, you're going to come out with a fairly useful product. Just it's efficiency. The more energy put in, the faster it goes. The more you are concerned about properly sized compost pile and your inputs, the better the nutrient value of the compost that you're making is going to be. Another thing about that is you want to have at least 2 containers. So that one can do the curing, right? Well, you're starting a second pile because you're not going to stop eating. You're not going to stop mowing your grass, and the leaves aren't going to stop falling. So you need to have a second pile or a second container available so that this first one can finish doing what it's doing, and then you just flip and start that cycle again. And you can do a heap, I guess, in a bin on the ground with that soil contact, which I find is helpful because you have more access to those microbes that are in the ground that are going to be doing the decompositional work for us anyway, and worms and all that sort of other stuff. But you can also, there are lots of containers on the market, tumblers and all kinds, and worm bins and stuff like that as well, for sure. Okay. Yeah.
All right, we appreciate you coming on and telling us a little bit about composting, man, because you are the Compost Fairy. Right?
I am the Compost Fairy. Yeah, we're serving Memphis for sure. Happy to help with the education process and diverting some of that waste out of the landfill and turning it back into some of that good stuff over there.
You're doing a good job, man. So we definitely do appreciate that. Thanks for being here. All right.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please click the subscribe button below.